Our first guest in a brand new series is frontman of the band Larkins, Josh Noble. They are one of the best bands in Manchester at the minute. Welcome to Pool Party with me, Joe McGrath. A unique interview where someone in the world of music comes and plays me at a game of pool. Who will win, me or the guest? Let's find out. Josh, welcome to Pool Party.
Yo.
People who don't know, Josh Noble, lead singer of the Larkins. You got a new project coming, well, that you're doing at the minute. We'll talk about it a bit later on in the interview. But the big question is, are you any good at pool?
I don't think so. I don't think I've played for a while.
Do you want to break?
Yeah, I'll try.
Yeah, this would be good. You always get the artist to break. Let's see. It says a lot about people. See what I mean about it? It's a bit wild.
That is a bit wild. Is there a bit of a hair? Was that me or was that the table?
That's definitely you.
Rogue
I will
table.
try and smash it up a bit more. Right, mate. So what happened then? Too good in a way. All right, I'm going to pick red.
Right.
So Josh, we've sort of had a lot of chats throughout our careers as an interviewer and an interviewee. We're at a stage now where you brought out the first album, Larkins.
Yeah.
Why was it the right time last year to sort of bring that record out, J. Coy?
I think it's a weird thing, like as a band, when you first bring your first record out, it feels like your greatest hits already. Because I was 23 when we brought that record out, 24. And like that record is my life for 24 years. That's everything I've got. All the best songs are on that record. It felt like the right time because I was at the point where I was like bursting with songs. Like demos had got to a point where there was so many demos. I was like, this stuff's got to come out. And I produced the record myself and like, just because out of necessity rather than what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it got to the point that I was working with what colour did you pick?
I picked red, so you go yellow.
We were working with some really good people, but it was all over Zooms or over like WeTransfers and Dropboxes. And it just got to this really like beautiful point where I was like, this is done. And I felt really content with it. And I was moving on to the second record, so yeah, it just got to a point where it was like silly not to.
Yeah. The album's called J. Coy, and it was a favourite in the McGrath household.
Was it?
We had it on a lot. Everyone loved it. When I say everyone, me and Becky and my dog, and it was just a pretty special listen because I've been a fan of yours for a long time. So it was a sort of coming together of everything that Larkins have built towards.
That's very sweet.
And it was it was brilliant. And Digital Love is up there with one of my favourite songs. Yeah. Oh, what a banger as well.
Good cover, isn't it?
It is. It's class. I love it. So how did you take it? It was bizarre how it went from, the OG to what you made it. How did that happen in your eyes?
Daft Punk's always something like, I've referenced Daft Punk forever, and it was always a bit of a weird thing. It was like what we started off as an indie guitar band from town. It was like, Daft Punk, really? Well, someone said to me in the middle of the pandemic, and as cliche and cringe as it sounds, they said, all we have is digital love. And the guy I work with a lot is called Arthur Coppins. And, Josh.
That was embarrassing, that, wasn't it?
That table has got a bit of
No,
a
it's
thing
not.
going
He's
on.
lying. Can we get a replay on that? He just completely missed it. Action replay. Carry on.
He does a lot of film photography, and he'd sent me this picture. He'd gone out walking at the height of lockdown, and it was this telephone wire that was all the internet cables connecting to it.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's almost like you can see the buzz of people just connecting.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I had that last night, I heard a dream about you. And I was like, we've got to do something. So that's where it came from. You got another shot, I missed it.
Oh, you did miss. Sorry, just rubbing it in. Just waiting for you to say that. Yeah, it's class.
Thank you.
So for the last 2 years, I think a lot of people have changed sort of, like the pandemic, we don't want to talk about it, but it has changed creatives a bit. From the start of it to where you are now, what do you think is the biggest change for you?
It's probably mental health. I think being aware of mental health a lot more. I think as well, like your people around you, your friends, your partners, dogs, pets, good pet.
You got a dog?
I've got a dog now, yeah, that's a big change. But you've never been around someone that intensely for so long.
Yeah.
I think that was my biggest thing. When it comes to music, I think it just became so much more, self-aware because you're alone with your thoughts a lot.
Did you write a lot more?
Yeah, I wrote loads, but...
Some people found it hard though, do you know what I mean? Some people found it tricky,
Yeah, but I think a lot of people don't write about the environment they're in, right?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes you have to do that, but there was also these lockdown sessions and lockdown albums, and I just wasn't into that.
What was it like speaking? Another action replay needed.
Come on now.
What was it like? That sort of relationship you had with the band members then. Does that stay strong over that period?
It was hard. It was hard to obviously see the boys and write. That bit was tricky. I found that bit hard. But at the same time, like, we've built Larkins and the fan base on Instagram, Discord, Twitch. So for us, it was like, that's what kept us alive and kept us going. We suddenly had this like relationship with a fan base that we'd never had before. Mm-hmm. And for us, that's how we built the band. I'm really proud of that. Some bands now, especially, like, really shy away from the whole social media game.
So explain it for people who might not know. What did you think you did differently in terms of that social media world?
I mean, when we started the band, I was 16, 17. I was leaving college. I was serving pizzas at Pizza Express.
Remember it?
And I used to go in the toilets at Pizza Express. I had my phone snuck in my like penny at the front.
But you're not allowed it anywhere on you, were you not?
Nah, and I used to get my phone out and I'd message the people who in that previous hour had followed the band.
Okay.
So we like put 20 quid on an Instagram advert. People were following the band because they heard like something beautiful. And I was messaging them like, yo, thanks so much. This is Josh. Even sometimes sending a picture like, yo, thanks so much for liking my band.
What, in the toilet?
Yeah. That's what's so up about it. Like, when we did our first gig, we released one song. We played the Albert Hall and we never even really released a proper single. Yeah. And everyone was like, how are you doing it? And I was like, because you get to know the people who are showing you the love. Go on.
Oh, balls. Yeah, you got to understand that fan base pretty early on.
Yeah, exactly. But I love music and I still love going to gigs and I love bands and I still got my favourite artists. And I think bands don't like an artist, they don't go to shows and they're like, what do I want from this? What do I want to see? What do I want to see at the merch stand? What do I want to experience queuing up to a show? What do I want to experience from the frontman, the guitarist, the whatever?
Yeah.
And they don't then go, all right, how do I apply this to my act? How do I apply this to my art? And that's something I've always been really precious about, you know?
You managed to fit a tour in the middle of the chaos, didn't you?
Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean, the tour right before the pandemic, we did 45 dates in like 2 months.
That is a lot of dates.
Which, you know, like, to be honest, like, I think we cancelled the last 3 just on a mental health basis. It got to a point where we were like, the shows are suffering because of the way that we're being.
So would you ever do that again?
Yeah, I would, but I'd do it differently.
Break it up more, or?
I'd probably break it up more, but I'd also just like, the second tour we did at the end of lockdown, I took a much bigger team and obviously like financials allowed us to do that, but it just made everything easier.
Yeah.
We had tour manager, we had lights, we had all of the team that we'd kind of picked over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Everyone was suddenly like, it was really diverse. We had so many people from so many different backgrounds and it became a really nice like environment to be in.
Class. Well, I was taking that album out on the road then, or taking the songs that people may not have heard.
The album was just about to be dropped, so it still felt like we were trialing them a bit, you know. Have I got a carryover?
You can carry over, yeah. I'm going to give you that.
I'm going to double up. This one's going in there.
Yeah, right. You said it. Let's have a look. Oh, that again is embarrassing moment number 3. We're getting too many of these, Josh.
I know. But yeah, it was good, man. It was good.
Yeah,
I found it hard because I made the whole record on my laptop.
So explain. Is that hard or is it doable, that laptop thing?
I think now, like, it's pretty doable. I think the more people, there's no excuse anymore.
So the whole record that we listen to comes from just a laptop?
Comes from most of it. I'd say 80% of it is like me on a laptop and then, in my bedroom.
Yeah. We'll go back. I've probably asked you these questions loads before. But your voice is, I think, I'd like to say you're the main strength about you because it's just incredible.
Thank you very much. That's very sweet.
Was it a voice that carried you through school, high school? Were you ever involved in anything like that, or is it something you discovered a bit later on?
I mean, I came from a little town called Glossop, which on reflection now is a beautiful place to grow up in.
Yeah.
But can be quite white and quite conservative.
Yeah.
The school I went to had an amazing, this is secondary school. It had an amazing music department.
Yeah.
But it was very much like boys don't sing and boys don't play guitar, like the traditional.
Yeah.
Even now, like, and this was only like 10 years ago or whatever, it was a bit like that. And I think it was only when, probably 14, 15, when I met Dom, that we kind of were like, we're the only kids who do this and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And at the time it was like, I just play guitar, I never sang, just play guitar. And like the girls would be the only ones who would sing and they'd want to come in and play like the new Ed Sheeran record. So I would learn it on guitar. And it was only like one day when I sang and our music teacher was like, why are you not doing this the whole time? And then me and Dom basically would enter these little charity competitions.
Yeah.
But like we'd invite all our mates, right?
Yeah.
So we turn up and all of our mates are like listening to Eminem and the Wombats and the drums and Foals. And we were turning up and playing like Simon and Garfunkel and Led Zeppelin. And they were like, what the f*** is this? And we were playing like She's Leaving Home by the Beatles.
Yeah.
And they were like, because that's what our mums and dads listened to, right?
Of course.
So yeah, that's kind of where it was found. But I don't know, I think only...
Cleaning up here, man.
Only the last year have I thought of myself as like a songwriter, singer.
Yeah.
I was always like, I'm just a musician. But
do you reflect back on that time and see, like, instead of like seeing band inspirations, do you see people who are inspirational to you?
Yeah, I mean, my teacher, Rob Marsh, Mr. Marsh.
Don't call him Rob if he's listening.
Yeah, no. I have seen him more recently, and I would say, it's still probably.
Would you say it's the first name to his face?
Nah, probably not.
Yeah, you have to call him Mr. Marsh.
Lifesaver. Definitely wouldn't be doing what I am without him.
Has he come to a gig yet?
Yeah, he came to some of our first shows. I think he maybe came to the Albert Hall show. He's always welcome. Yeah. Should just be permanently on the guest list.
That's a cool thing to say. Like, to be a music teacher, I bet you think of those moments where the people you teach get to play an iconic venue like Albert Hall, and see the pictures of that.
Totally. I mean, my mum's a teacher. Actually, she was a teacher before she retired, and I think it's been interesting seeing her rise, especially in like, you know, as someone who would probably define to be like slightly left wing. Yeah. It's like seeing my mum as a teacher and seeing how education's changed. Yeah. And I think those little moments are now few and far between. Of course. And I think she's always said like, they're the reasons you become a teacher. Mm-hmm. And I've definitely experienced that as like, without that guy and without that music department and without them having a guitar there, I never would be in the position. We wouldn't be doing this interview. Whereas I think now, like, because of the way education's going, not to get into this really heavy, but I think those moments are getting hard to get. Yeah. Because teachers are now so driven on other things and have to be, that they're not getting the time with kids.
So that's sort of worrying about the next state of music to come in a way.
100%. But I mean, like we're going to talk about this in a bit, but I have this project called Soap.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it now. So this is, obviously, you're still lead singer Larkins, but something, you can write songs that may not just fit Larkins, may fit other artists. And you created Soap.
Soap, yeah. So I basically worked on this artist called Lucy Deakin, and we made her first record. I was basically brought in to produce the record. And when I did, she brought along this kid called Carl Ziegler. Yeah. And he's 22 and was just a whiz on a laptop. Right. And he made my life so easy making that record because he engineered the whole thing. And he was also super talented at songwriting. So I had a month later, I had a whole month of like songwriting sessions booked. Yeah. And I said to Carl, I was like, yo, do you want to come back tomorrow? I was like, come and help me write with these people. And he was like, yeah, cool. So we've been doing that for like 18 months.
That's class. Is there a pressure of forcing yourself to write a song? I mean, force is maybe not a word to use, but knowing that you've got to wake up in the morning and write a tune, is that pressure?
Sometimes. I mean, I feel slightly anxious sometimes with new artists, especially if you've got a preconceived idea about them. Yeah. But I mean, I've done sessions all over the world with amazing people. Like I worked with Dan Nigo for ages, the guy who did Olivia Rodrigo and Conan Gray. And I'd go in the mornings, Conan would come in the afternoons. And I never felt like, oh shit, oh God, I've got to write a song as good as them, or oh God, today something has to happen. Because with people that you feel comfortable with, it's like, sometimes it'll happen. Yeah. I've been reading this book called Big Magic. Have you ever read that?
No.
And it basically says that rather than people being geniuses, they have a genius. Yeah. So they would say like Einstein, for example, had a genius that he could call on every now and then. Right. And some days that genius comes, sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't. And you know this, like it being in radio and interviews, you have these moments where you're like, the genius is with me. I'm in a flow state. I'm in this flow of like, stuff feels easy and feels creative. And then other days it's not there.
So what happens when it's not there?
You got to grind. Yeah. You got to grind it out. You've got to rely on people. And as Soap, I've been in sessions as a producer where you're on your own and something's not happening and the artist's getting frustrated and they've traveled up from London or come from the States and they're like, shit, I'm not giving them what they came for. So having someone with you that's like, yo, I'll carry this for the next few hours, go out, retrain your headspace and come back. I'd say that's my biggest like piece of advice for songwriters now is like grind and grind because every day's a lottery ticket with songwriting. Yeah. But when that genius comes, like capture it and catch it.
So the genius has come for you for the Larkins second album, you said. Is that what's happening there?
I mean, I've written like 3 albums for Larkins.
Really?
Yeah, they're ready.
And do they constantly change, or do you think you've got your?
They change with trends and environments. Like I hear something new and I'm like, our new album should sound like this. My big thing at the moment was I remember as a kid I was a big fan of. Do you remember Bombay Bicycle Club?
Yeah,
I mean they're still huge, and I remember listening to them, and when they brought the first record out, it was like it defined an era.
Yeah.
And then they came out with an acoustic album. Do you remember it had Ivy and Gold on it, and
They're
still.
brilliant.
And for me, I remember hearing that second album and be like, okay, I like folk music now. So I've always kind of like, I wanted our second album to be like more acoustic based, but have like this like laptop sound that the first album had.
Oh, is
That's
that
kind of where I'm
Is
at.
that what you're going to take? Then?
That's kind of where I'm at the moment, but it'll probably change next week.
Change like the wind. What did the band say when you sort of changed like that? Oh, actually, guys, I'm
sure they hate it, but
for people who don't know, the chemistry of you guys is
hilarious.
Yeah, one of the funniest things about the band. I think that's why the fan base has obviously grown, and it's funny to be a part of.
It's clearing up.
Clearing up. The interview's going to be wrapping up soon by the looks of it. How is everyone? How is the Larkins? About moment number 4. How is the Larkins? How are Larkins as a band? How's Henry? How's Dom?
Really good.
Joe?
Really good. I think it's weird, like as 4 young boys growing up from the age of like 18, 19, we've grown up together and grown together, whether it's like who we are as individuals, as boys, as like...
Snooker's you there?
I don't know.
Sorry about that.
So it's been weird, you know what I mean? You've grown up together, and I think we've all kind of realised that like we've seen our friends grow up as lads and the typical lads, and gone, we don't want to do that. So growing up together has been very cool, and like musically we've all come to different genres and brought different things to the party. People don't realise like touring's so fun and it's amazing, but being away with the same 3 people, we've been to the States for weeks, or we toured Germany, do you remember that?
Yeah.
And like you learn everything about each other, and you have to go through those tough bits like finding partners, dating, who you are politically. Like the Black Lives Matter movement for us was massive because Henry suddenly felt like this is kind of like something that I've never talked about before.
Yeah.
And for us it was like we need to learn now. We need to start being better as humans and individuals. That
was very close.
I feel very blessed to have got to work with them for so long, and like if I can keep giving them songs that they love, like I get such a kick out of that, you know.
Yeah, I saw recently that you moved out of the city. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it back near where you grew up?
Town.
And is that something that was that an easy decision to make, or was it just something that just naturally happened?
It wasn't easy, but I'd moved studios, and I moved into the studio on the Sharp project, and I loved it that much. But I was finding that I was bringing work home every night.
Yeah. And
I lived with Dom for so long in town.
Yeah.
You know, our lives were changing a bit. We were going on tour.
By the way.
Love Manchester.
Yeah.
I love Manchester, and I always will, and it's my home. But I just needed a bit of separation. I mean, I say I moved out, it's still kind of classed as town.
Yeah. But it's a different environment, because I kind of did the same thing, because I was living in town, not too far from you, Manchester City Centre.
I was going to say, how did you find that?
Yeah, that was, it's just a completely different, isn't it, when there's that was so close. It's different where your head's at with everything, isn't it? You feel like you miss certain things, but then you take other things. Like, for example, when we're living in a city centre, and you just have like this endless like food and drink options. Yeah. But then you appreciate when you're back home into maybe a secluded part of the town, you appreciate the other, like the fact that, like for example, there's a park near us and it's got a coffee van now. Yeah. That's buzzing. Yeah. But I lived about on top of a coffee shop. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's kind of one of those where you think things you take things for granted maybe in town a bit. Oh, balls! 2 shots to you, and you appreciate. Oh, would you have had 4 shots then if I put them? No, I'm joking. You appreciate that a bit more. So what's coming to the end of the game? One of us is going to win.
I would hope so. It's usually how it works.
You could call it a draw if you want. What's the next stages for you then? What's happening next?
I mean, like we were saying off camera, like for me, it's at the moment Soap is so busy, and so we've got so many young, cool female artists coming through that I'm really excited about. We've got people like Phoebe Hall, Juno James, Elise Mason, who we've done some work with. They're so good, and I'm so hyped about them and so invested in these artists now. That's kind of where my focus is at. Yeah. Larkins at the moment is like, we're all pretty focused on America. Yeah. Because for me, like that alternative sound and looking at those artists and going from like this alt world into the pop world a bit, that we're kind of like sat in the middle somewhere. And I feel like when we've played in LA or gone and done showcases over there, it kind of went down really well. Mm-hmm. And as you know, like we were in the States when COVID hit big.
Yeah,
like we nearly didn't make it back, so that feels a bit unfinished business. So for Larkins, it's definitely the America stuff.
Head back there.
And for Soap, it's just like grinding it out at the moment and making as best songs we can and writing as best songs we can and working with the best people. Like working with labels now, there's some great labels in Manchester. Lab Records, Modern Sky, Fear.
Yeah.
These small little labels are suddenly like sending you artists and you're like, shit, these guys are good.
This is gonna be good.
Yeah, like Town's becoming exciting again.
Yeah.
Like
I think I'm thankful for that. Ooh.
get in.
That is, who's the most balls, I had a good shot then. Who's the most competitive in the band?
Me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So in a game of pool, balls. In a game of pool, I think I've really let him have on it. This is an intense game, by the way. I think we're having too good of a chat to realise that this is pressure.
The thing is, even if I pot it though, I need to bring the white back, don't I?
You do. You need to somehow keep it on the side. This is.
Get down.
You've got something on here, but I don't know what. You're gonna have to get it right. You're gonna have to watch that white ball as well, where that might end up.
I had to pick a pocket as well, right?
Yeah. Which one are you gonna go for? I mean, that one's screaming, but
That might go in. Do you play if you pot the black and the white goes in, you win?
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's fine, mate. This one, it's going in here.
It's going in there.
It's going in there.
This is the shot to make up for the embarrassing moments. I'll move out of the way.
Come on!
That was a cool ending. Josh, thank you very much for joining us today. What a way to end that. Josh, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
This has been SoundON Pool Party, 1-0 to the guests, Josh. And what a way to win as well. Make sure you drop a comment for us and leave a subscribe on the SoundON YouTube. Put a bell on as well, so whenever we do another pool party, it'll come to you. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Joe. This is Josh from Larkins. Enjoy. See you in a bit.